something that I'm really passionate about is recording sounds for you. Now, the way to get sounds for you is to use a microphone. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about what I want to do to try and improve my sound just that little bit more, because I've been using the same equipment since the audio recording studio was built like 10 years ago or more. Well, I'm not in that space anymore, but I've created another space which is pretty close. Not perfect, but it's pretty close, because if you listen, it's pretty close. So I wanted to talk about microphones. While it's maybe a little bit boring for you, it's something that I think about a lot for creating sounds for you. So it will be something that will affect the sounds that I create for you. First, what is a microphone? This is one of the microphones that I've used for quite a while now. It's the Rode NT1, so you can see the capsule there. So I would probably put this at the number one microphone that you could buy to create the beginnings of professional, there it is, sound recording for you. Most recording studios or audio professionals will know that microphone because it's probably considered one of the best microphones that you can buy in relation to the price. So the value of money that you get for that microphone it puts it right at the top of all microphones. And one of the best features of that microphone is that it's very quiet. When you're recording quiet sounds, like I might be, let's get one of these wooden blocks. So if you're using it over here, the levels that the sound go through the microphones is very low. And then when you add a whisper to it, a whisper like this would have to be one of the hardest things that you can record. So it's very difficult to capture those sounds. It's very, very hard to capture the sounds and then try and get the levels up high enough that the recording works on most devices. And that is the noise floor. So if you listen, there's not much noise in the recording, but even though you can't hear it, it's there. And the more volume you bring it up, the more noise comes with the volume, and that's where you get the hiss and the tss. And so that's what I'm trying to avoid. So the microphone is probably one of the most important things to choose, and then what you connect it to and how it's recorded. So I have a list. So we're going to base all microphones that we talk about off of the Rode NT1 because it's probably considered one of the best microphones that you can buy in any situation of audio recording, because the value for money and the quality of the microphone that you get, it's considered one of the better microphones that you can buy for that reason. Okay, so the microphones that I'm using right now, they're long shotgun microphones. And to be honest, most of the recording that I do is done through these microphones, as I prefer the sound that comes from them. So these microphones have what's called a noise floor of 13 dB or dBA. The NT1 has a noise floor of 4. So I can increase the volume of the recording without bringing up the noise floor. So the whole purpose is to get the levels up high enough without bringing the noise with it. So when you have a recording level here, you can bring it up higher without bringing up the noise floor, which brings up the noise of the microphone, and then you have the noise of the preamplifier. And so there's a sequence of preamplifiers that amplify the sound. So you want to amp the sound, bring it up without the noise. So you want to try and get your sound recording level up as high as you can without the noise, so you have more room to work with without bringing in the noise of the recording. So, Rode NT1, NTG3 shotgun microphones, they're at 13. So when we say these numbers, they are the self noise of the microphone. So when you're recording, it's when you turn the volume up, that's when you'll start hearing the noise of the microphone. So I can turn the noise of the Rode NT1s up more without any noise coming into the recording compared to these, because the Rode NT1 is quieter. So those are the two sets of microphones I've been using. The first set of microphones I used were the NT5s, which were the smaller ones. They had a noise floor of 16, which is the highest out of all of the microphones I'm going to talk about. So we got 4 or 4.5, 13, and my original ones were 16. So they're not that good for ASMR recording, where the NT1 is probably the best. So we're going to get to Telefunken microphones. So this is a old brand of microphones that has been rebirthed in America, and they make microphones in America. And I'm eyeing their microphone off, which is a Telefunken TF17. It is a newly designed and built microphone. It has a noise floor of 3, and it comes in a stereo set so that the microphones are more closely matched. So the Rode NT1 is about 4.5. The Telefunken is 3, so the Telefunken is even better. It's a more expensive microphone. From all of the audio tests that I've heard, it sounds pretty good, but it's so hard to tell because you just don't know what it's going to sound like until you get it. They also have something which is kind of special and kind of not special, in that they have some smaller pencil mics, which I really want. And they have a self-noise of 5, which is incredible for this type of microphone. It's by far the lowest that I've found at all. And it comes in a stereo set, again, a pair of microphones. But the problem is that there's reported issues of humidity affecting the microphone. So some microphones do well in all conditions, and some microphones don't. So the benefit of the Telefunken microphones is that they have good clarity. They don't colour the sound too much. So the Telefunken microphones are the microphones that I'm most looking at the moment. So some other microphones which would be considered, there's a brand called Lewitt. They have a 440 and a 540, and the 540S has a 4 self-noise, so the same as the NT1. How they sound, maybe a little bit better. It's very hard. When you choose these microphones, as you go up in price, you get less and less of an upgrade. So like bang for buck. The Rode NT1s are the best bang for buck. You get the most microphone for the lowest price. And as you start going up in price, you don't notice as much of an upgrade unless you're an audio engineer professional, which I am not. So Lewitt microphones are a consideration. I've reached out to a couple of companies, and Lewitt denied me any interest in ASMR. I also contacted Schoeps, which is a very high-end professional microphone. I had a look at some of their microphones, and a lot of their microphones aren't designed for this type of work. They're more designed for film and TV, which would work, but I contacted Schoeps and they shot me down as well. But anyway, so another company is Neumann. You may have seen the head microphones, the binaural heads, which a few people have. Currently in Australia, they're sitting close to almost 20,000 Australian dollars, which is pretty crazy considering they were like 10,000 not so long ago. So Neumann they're probably one of the most famous companies of microphones, and they make some very, very nice microphones, and they sound great. But most of the Neumanns have higher self-floors similar to this one, and it's considered high. They do have one which is at the 7 number. It's the Neumann TLM-03, and I'd quite like a pair of those microphones. I think they sound pretty good. So Neumann is another brand of microphone. I don't think I'd even bother contacting the company because I think they'd just laugh at me. Anyway, another company which I've reached out to, haven't heard a reply back, is DPA. Again, they make film and TV microphones. And I was looking at one of their shotgun microphones. It's probably very similar to these microphones that I'm using now. Same noise floor of 13, so it's not going to make any difference. And I think that they sound pretty good. Another microphone company. Another company is Sennheiser. And Neumann and Sennheiser are kind of like the same company. I believe they're made in the same place. And I've been looking at some of their microphones. One I'd really like is an MKH50, which is similar to these ones. They work in lots of different situations. And they're about the same noise floor as these ones, which is 12. And I'm looking at some smaller 850s as well. So these are some of the microphones that I have been looking at to buy. So, recording interfaces. So I've been using an old Tascam unit, which has worked extremely well and sounds really good for the money. I'm now looking at a couple of different options. Is that I'm looking at an SSL12 interface. Now, some of these interfaces are being looked at because they have an an extra input into them that doesn't go through the preamp. These are all of these little things you have to, try and understand to figure out the best way to get the sound into the recording. So, sound interface SSL2 is probably one of the best ones to get for the money. It has actually really good preamplifiers. So when you plug the microphone into the interface amplifies the audio signal without bringing that noise floor up. So with my current one, it's pretty good. But once you try and increase that volume up, it starts bringing the noise floor up at the very end of it. Whereas the SSL12 has been tested by a few people, and one person I trust in particular who has said that the microphone preamplifiers are some of the most quiet he's tested, and he's done some testing with it. Another one is the Volt 4. It's also got decent preamplifiers, but it has that line input. And some devices, when you plug something else into it, another preamplifier, the electronic circuitry passes it through the preamplifier and just it changes it a little bit. So when you want an input, you want it to go into converters that convert it into digital without going through the preamplifier. It's the technical stuff that you want to look at. Another interface is RME. But they're more expensive. So those require a computer to connect to, and that's kind of how I record. Connect my preamp into the laptop, record the audio. Another way of recording audio, which I really, really like, is a portable recorder. I've been looking at the Sound Devices Mix Pre 10 and the Zoom F8N Pro. I kind of prefer the Sound Device because I believe it would have just a slightly quieter microphone preamp. But wait, we're not finished. Something else that I've been looking at for some time, and something else that I've helped with a little bit, and I'll talk about that at the end of the video. So, the reason why I've chosen those audio interfaces is primarily for the input that you can plug things into them. And so what I'd want to do is I'd like to get a professional preamplifier to plug the microphones into, and then the preamp into the interface, and the interface into the computer. It's what the situation is when you want to do this. And something I've been looking at is the Camden EC2 Preamp. So it's got 2 preamps, so you can plug 2 microphones in. And they're a couple of $1,000 Australian dollars. There's another one called the 7th Circle T15. These ones are kind of like a kit, and I don't quite understand it. You kind of have to buy like a rack unit. You kind of have to put them in. It's not quite as simple as just turning it on and plugging it in. But those ones are meant to be really, really good. And another one is the Millennia HV3C preamplifier. Once you get to this level, these preamplifiers are kind of best to record sounds without changing them. So, for example, when you're recording, let's say, a rock band, you're plugging microphones into preamplifiers and you can change the sound a little bit to make it sound better. You know, in a music, you get away with changing the sounds, but let's say you wanted to record a piano, a violin, an acoustic instrument, where you want to hear the sounds like you're in real life. You don't want the sound to be changed or coloured, is what you would say. You want a preamplifier that doesn't mess with the sounds and just basically makes it sound better like you were there listening to it. So with ASMR, I think the best way to record the sounds is to find the equipment that doesn't change the sounds too much, so that when you get it onto the recording, it's as authentic, realistic, or it matches what you would hear in real life. So that is the intention to the equipment. And so even if I spent, let's say, $7,000 in audio equipment, you may not hardly even notice the difference. Yet I will. That's the money versus what you get. So, if you spend a little bit of money, you get a lot. But as you spend more, you're only getting a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more of an upgrade. Now, the purpose is to buy equipment that will see me for the next 10 years, I hope. To, this type of equipment, once you buy it, it's, especially the microphones and some of the other stuff, it can last you a very, very, very long time. You don't need to upgrade. So that's why I'm going to try and invest in some equipment now and just try and improve my audio as much as I can to create the best recordings for you. Now, a little bit of information that soon a video will be released kind of related to the white noise studio that Jojo created. And so I've made some suggestions and offered some help to him to try and upgrade some of his audio recordings. And so some of the equipment that I just spoke about from that piece of paper, he now has in his recording studio. And so I think if you look back on some of the recordings there, I believe you'll see, I'll try and, when they're released, I'll try and link some of the recordings or the videos so you can try and, I'm pretty sure he's going to release a video soon because I've seen a preview of parts of it where he talks about the upgrade process, and there's some video in his video of me talking on the phone with him. We spent a few nights just going over stuff, connecting things up and just testing to try and give him a better quality sound to match the studio that he's built. And so hopefully soon a video will come out of him showing the difference in the audio from his old setup to his new setup. And I think that will give you an idea of what I'm hoping to achieve. So I think my current setup might be a bit better than his old setup, but his new setup is exactly what we've just talked about. I think he's got the Neumann head microphone, but his next best microphone is one of these, so you can see the capsule. So I reckon he'll get some, once I get some microphones, I reckon he'll want to get some microphones too. He'll go, Dimitri, what type of microphones should I get? them. So I reckon once I get some microphones, I'll take them down to his studio so we can try them on his setup once we get everything rolling. So hopefully in the next few weeks we'll start some audio upgrades and improve the sounds for you. Should we keep talking? Maybe a little bit like this. Now you can see how difficult it is to record. Very quiet whispering, and then when you add almost inaudible sounds, it gets even harder to try and capture. And so you can just see what it takes to try and capture those very quiet sounds. You need a very quiet place, a quiet room, and you need microphones that you can turn up the volume without bringing the noise floor. So you want to turn up the volume and keep the noise floor down, because if you're starting here and you try and bring the noise up, it's harder. So you want to try and get your levels up as high